Hey everybody, my name is Jennifer. This is Metatron speaking. I am a channeler who channels typically Archangel Metatron, but today my message, or my information, I should say, is coming from Egyptian god Amun-Ra. So I'm going to describe to you an interaction that I had with him. And I do this very frequently on my channel where I will describe um, again, my interaction with different guides. So it'll include both like dialogue that I'm like channeling, and a lot of it is visual because I'm probably more clairvoyant than anything else. And so I'll describe what the visuals look like that I get, and I'll also describe the words that I get. I want you to use this description in a special way. I want you to use this video in a special way. So in the back of your mind, when you're watching this, I want you to be thinking about how this situation flows, because a lot of times I think people think gifts, psychic gifts, are maybe more straightforward than they actually are. So I think a lot of times the impression is that, I'm just channeling that information right away and I've got it all figured out right away. And that's not the case. Like every once in a while, that's how it works. But most of the time, it's more of a back and forth and a discovery where when you are either when you're channeling or when you're picking up clairvoyant information or both, or any of the psychic gifts, when you're picking up information, a lot of times the first 5 or 10 minutes of what you're picking up is like, does this make sense? Is this relevant? Why are they showing me this? And what I want you to see is that if you can be diligent, if you can stick with it and you can keep going, all of a sudden, really relevant stuff starts coming out of it. But you have to be able to persist, and you also have to be able to trust what you're getting. Trust what you're getting. So that's a big thing. So this is with Amun-Ra. And the first thing he shows me is he takes me to a place outside. So I know I'm outside, it's dark, we're under the stars, sitting cross-legged on a large flat rock. And it's not just like one rock, it's like formations, like lots and lots of flat rocks all kind of bunched together. Amun-Ra is wearing a brown robe and is without his typical hat. So for some reason, whenever I see Amun-Ra, he's always wearing white, and he's got this hat that's like more narrow at the bottom and more wide at the top, and it's flat across the top, and it's white, and it's very like Egyptian pharaoh-ish kind of energy. So he's not wearing his cool white hat today. He's wearing brown, so he's got a brown robe, no hat. He has a bald head, apparently. I did not know this. I look over at him and he continues looking at the sky. So I look at him, he's still looking up. I see the profile of his face and like the trademark thing that I notice on him every time, that I love it and it cracks me up. He has this like light blue eyeliner under his eyes, and he's got the version of Amun-Ra that I am shown. He has dark black skin. So he's got these dark black skin, and he's got this like light blue eyeliner that just like pops because it's against his dark skin. He is serious, perhaps even a bit stern in appearance. So remember this. So I'm looking at this vision and I'm like, all right, we're outside, it's dark, there's stars. Amun-Ra's looking up and nothing's happening. And so what I do is I just keep describing every little detail until it moves along. And so I'm like, all right, Amun-Ra is serious, perhaps even a bit stern in appearance. I watch his profile, waiting for him to speak or acknowledge me. He is the only guide that gives me a hard time that I still feel drawn to. So when I say hard time, um, Amun-Ra is like that tough love kind of energy. Amun-Ra is not like the touchy-feely, super sweet emotional kind of guy. Like he's more reserved, right? So this is possible when you're interacting with a god or a goddess. If you are interacting with an ascended master or an angel, they will always be loving, always. They will never play games. They don't act like humans at all. They act like angels and ascended masters. Gods act like humans. Um, he turns to look at me. His voice is very deep, and every time I see him, it is with stars behind him. So I call him the god of the stars because every time he shows up for me in a vision, it's nighttime and there's stars out. I call him the god of the cosmos or the god of the stars for that reason. In other versions of myself, when I helped arrange each part of the cosmos into their correct location, I know he was my boss or he oversaw the process. He validates this. So I'm sitting here trying to channel. Nothing's happening, and so I'm just yammering away as as I'm writing down what I'm seeing. And I get this intuitive hit, and it's like, hey, because I've seen my other versions of myself arranging stars or planets to be in certain configurations, but I'm following the instructions of someone else, right? Like I'm a helper. And so the intuitive hit that he gave me is, this is why you called me God of the Stars. I was the one instructing you where to place things, and it wasn't just me. It was lots of other beings. Um, Amun-Ra. This is what he says. There's more to learn. If your life feels mundane, it is your own fault. We have plenty to teach you, far more than you could learn in 1,000 lifetimes. What would you like to know? So I consider this when he asks this to me because is it just me? I love when I get this question. It's like, what do you want to know? Like, I'll tell you what it is you want to know. What do you want to know? Except they're not really, when a guide asks you that, when they're like, what do you want to know? They're not really giving you the keys to the castle. Like, they're really not, they can't tell you anything you want because some things have to remain secret while we're in a body in order to kind of promote the hologram or keep us in this reality, if you will. So to some extent, we can't know things, right? So when I consider his question, when he makes this offer, it is about other planets. So he's basically asking me, what do you want to know about other planets? What do you want to know about the history of existence? What do you want to know about wisdom? He's not asking me, hey, give me your ego question. Give me if I'm like, hey, have I been a god or a goddess? Or, have I done this? Have I done that? What's my blah, blah, blah? That's not what he's asking. He's like, what knowledge do you want to know that's outside of your ego? He's not offering to tell me personal information about my soul. Part of my communication with my guides is telepathic. So I know this without him saying. So again, I'm getting an intuitive hit because I can hear him say, what do you want to know? But intuitively, I know this is not open for everything. This is like limited. And so I'm kind of like being a smartass with him and I want to play around with him. So I said, can I ask 100 things? Like, he makes it sound like, okay, you got to pick just one. But I'm like, can I ask you 100 things? And Amun-Ra's like, no. I don't know why that makes me laugh. I guess because like all my other guides wouldn't do that. He's literally like the only guide that I will interact with who sasses me. So he's like, no. He makes me laugh. He is always behaving like a grouchy god, but I know better. And one day, before I die, he's giving me energy right now. This is interesting. So, whenever, like when I interact with Ra, who's the typical god I interact with other than Odin, Odin's right here. Ra is always above me. I can feel Amun-Ra above me too. That's interesting. Okay, so Amun-Ra is always behaving like a grouchy god, but I know better. And one day, before I die, I know he will show me why I know this. I do not fear him. He does not offend me. Like he tries to play tough, but I'm like, look, I know you're fun. I remember your soul. I know you're fun. You're playing a game with me right now. And then, so I asked him again because I said, hey, can I ask you 100 things? He said no. So now I say, can I ask you 2 things? No, is his answer. So then I'm like, all right, I'm going to be more creative. And I say, can I tell you one thing today? And then tomorrow, ask for something else. And Amun-Ra cracked a smile. I can't even tell you what that means because he's always straight faced and just really slowly, I could see him start to smile. Like he didn't want to, but he did. And that was like my validation. I'm like, I knew you had a sense of humor. I knew you were more playful than what you pretend to be. And so as soon as he cracks the smile, I can start to feel the love energy from him. And he tells me yes. So, yes, I can ask him one thing today and another thing tomorrow, and another thing the next day, and another thing the next day. I know he sees everything, and I cannot. Oh, that's what I skipped a part. So he says I can ask him something today and something tomorrow. And I said, can you show me what it is I would want to know the most right now? Because he knows everything. He knows me. He knows the way my mind thinks. He knows the little bit of information that I would find the most interesting. So I asked him for that. And he agrees. And then I ask him, okay, are we going on a shamanic journey? Like, shamanic journey, like, what I'm really asking, because I don't know, is that shamanic? He's like, yes. It's weird. When I think of shamanic journeying, most people think of like going to where the dead people are, right? Which is like going down, but I'm talking about going up, like other planets. And so he's like, yep, that's what we're going to do. So he shows me a planet that looks like it's black from a distance. And then we land on this planet. And indeed, there is black rock everywhere. And so I'm looking around and I'm trying to understand. I'm like, is this cooled lava? And he's like, nope. Okay. And so I try to look closer because when I was channeling this, it actually took me a really long time because I landed on this black rock and I'm looking around and I don't see anything. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong? And so I started trying to look closer at the rock that I was standing on. And so that makes me work harder because my clairvoyance gives me general information unless I really start tuning into it and then I can get more detail. It's not like your physical eyes where you can just see everything all at once. You have to almost know what you're looking for. So I'm looking at the black rock and it looks like, paint jobs on a really nice car and there's like glitter in the paint. It's like those little teeny tiny sparkles. Like that's what the rocks had, like this iridescent teeny tiny sparkles in it. It is nighttime here. Amun-Ra stands tall beside me, looking up at the sky. So again, he's doing that thing where he's not looking at me. He's just like looking up at the sky. And so I'm like trying to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I asked him, I said, should I be looking at the sky? And he doesn't say anything. So then I start switching my focus out to the sky and I can see like this like neighboring white planet. It's larger than our moon, but it's just a neighboring planet that's probably orbiting the planet I'm on. And then so I just start asking him questions. I'm like, hey, are we in the Milky Way galaxy? And he says, yes. Hamal is what humans have named this place, or Alpha Arietis, part of the Aries constellation. So I had to Google this because he was showing me things that I couldn't pull the name, and so I had to Google. Anyways, I can see my clothing now, brown pants and brown boots and a brown cape. I look similar to how I do in this lifetime. I try to look around, but my vision is blocked because I keep trying. I'm like, look, like, what am I supposed to be looking at? What am I supposed to be doing? And I don't see anything. Amun-Ra is directing me back to the sky. So he's blocking my vision because he's like, girl, you're looking in the wrong spot. So I'm like, okay, I'll try something else. So I look in the sky and I have a black Pegasus. I've talked about this before. It showed up to me in visions when I first started as like a black horse. And then later I figured out it was a black unicorn. And then later I figured out it was a black unicorn that has wings. But when I first started my journey, I was only ready to see the horse. And so that's all they showed me. Anyways, I have a black Pegasus and I am aware that this black Pegasus was a gift when I was, so this is not in a body. Not in a body. Archangel Michael gifted this Pegasus to me. I know that much, but I haven't seen the actual details of it. And so I'm like super happy to see my horse because I love it, my Pegasus. And so I'm like saying hi to it. It's just one of those animals I'm super madly in love with for no apparent reason, which means I have a lot of history with it. Amun-Ra. So by him bringing this in, because this is like a very personal piece of information that I have on um, my relationship with Michael. And so for him to bring this in, this is really Amun-Ra verifying that within Amun-Ra's energy is part or all of Archangel Michael's energy. So I keep trying to explain God and Goddess energy, and I am simplifying it, and I wouldn't be surprised if I'm getting part of it wrong. But Amun-Ra, can you like let me talk through me? Let me explain this properly. Okay, he's gonna correct me if I say something wrong. Okay, so every god or goddess, basically, it's like they have a buffet table before they're created, and on this buffet table is everything that exists, right? Every personality, every energy, all the darkness, all the light. It's on this buffet table. And before the god or goddess was created, they they took from here and there and they had made a special little combination of energies because it's too much to have everything in one body. And so in order to make God and goddess energy manageable, they've taken a little bit here and there, and that's what each of them is. So you might interact with Amun-Ra, and he might have some Archangel Michael energy in him, and you might interact with Isis, and let's pretend she has no Archangel Michael energy in her, right? So you can have totally different energy combinations across the different gods and goddesses. Anyways, so there's Archangel Michael is somewhere in Amun-Ra in some way. Lost my spot on my notes. Amun-Ra is verifying that he holds part of Archangel Michael's energy. So he does that, right? I look down again at the black rock. This is going to be hard to explain. I look down at the black rock, and all of a sudden I see a trilobite fossil. So if you don't know what that is, you can look it up. It's a fossil of like I want to say like an arthropod. It's just I don't have a picture of it. Trilobite. So I see a fossil of a trilobite. It's like this big. It's a little guy. And I'm immediately drawn back to a real life, this life memory. So as a child, as like a 5-year-old, we lived near the ocean. And as a 5-year-old, I was looking through the tide pools, which the tide pools are like, it's a bunch of black rocks over by where the water would crash onto the sand. And so the water would get stuck in the grooves of the rocks or in between the rocks, and then little sea creatures would live there. And I was exploring these rocks when I was 5 years old with my family, looking around for, little sea creatures and whatever. And I looked down and I saw this fossil, except I was 5. There was no internet, and I had no idea that it was a fossil. I had no idea that it was a trilobite. And so I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this is cool. What is this? And I called my mom over and she's like, oh, this is cool. And she like took a picture of it. And that's why I remember it so well, probably. So it was just this like random memory when I was little. Except now Amun-Ra is having me repeat that with him. So then when he does that, I'm like, okay, Amun-Ra must have been the one to place that trilobite fossil for me to find when I was little. So basically, it was like this message from Amun-Ra before I knew there were gods and goddesses, before I knew it was such a thing. So I looked up the spiritual meaning of trilobite because I'm like, well, what's the message, right? Because if you're coming across something in your life, it doesn't matter if it's a typical message. People are like, yeah, I got a feather, I got a heart, these things that people recognize. No one's like, yeah, I got a trilobite fossil. Doesn't matter. Anything can be a message from your guides. So I looked up, thank you, Google. So I looked up the spiritual meaning of trilobites. He shows me that I wrote this wrong. They help people to become a good leader. They help with patience and perseverance. And so as I am typing, so I'm like looking at Google, I'm copying the answer down in my phone so that I can say it to you guys later. And as I am writing these things, he gives me more understanding. It's like Amun-Ra sticks his little finger in my brain and he allows me to access just the tiniest bit more of divine information than I'm allowed to usually. And so I recognize as I write it that becoming a good leader, patience and perseverance. Don't do that. I don't know what's up with Amun-Ra. He's being like Yeshua. You know how Yeshua will just like come just like the tiniest bit too close and then you're like sobbing like uncontrollably. Do you have He's got Yeshua. This is why. So Amun-Ra has Yeshua and Archangel Michael in him for sure. Because he keeps doing that where I keep feeling like I might just suddenly bawl. If I do, I do. Please don't take that as an invitation. So I recognize that my soul contract said, these are the things I want to work on. It was a lot more than just that, but he's letting me remember these 3 things. I remember, I forgot I wrote this. My gosh, that's why you're doing this. So there was another, well, no, it's not the only memory. I have very few memories of right before I came into this incarnation, but I was shown that I have this like long-standing desire to be more like Yeshua. Don't we all? Please don't make me cry. Okay, please don't. Um, and so in order to be more like Yeshua, we have to go through a lot of suffering in order to learn how to like persevere with it and still keep a high vibration with it, right? So I was like, I want to be more like Yeshua. And I can see that Amun-Ra is part of this conversation. So I don't even know if Yeshua was there or not, but I feel like he was because I remember looking at him. So I think I was like, I want to be more like Yeshua. And Amun-Ra says, then I need to work on patience, perseverance, and leadership. And so he's like shot calling my soul contracts, which is interesting because I know Metatron puts them all together, but it's a group effort, right? You get this collaboration from all these different places. It is very rare for my guides to allow me to see detailed conversations about an incarnation before I am incarnated. Um, so remember in the beginning when Amun-Ra said, "What do you want to know?" And I said, "Show me." I said, show me what you know I would want to know the most." And stop it. He's gonna make me cry. He's like really persistent with this. Back up a little. And so hard to focus when he's doing this. He said, "What do you want to know?" And I'm like, "Tell me the thing I want to know the most." And so it is, stop it. It is kind of ego based, to be honest, because we all want to know, okay, what conversations did I have before I incarnated, right? Like, what was going on behind the scenes? Stop. I don't even know why I try to fight it. Um, and so he knows that's what I would want to know. And because he's got Yeshua energy, that's his love. And so he wants to make us happy. Ay, ay, ay. Let me see what else I wrote down here. There goes all the makeup, guys. Okay. Um, I'm gonna just tell you what I wrote. When life seems to be one hardship after another, it is good to remember. And so this is me talking. This is me. When life seems to be one hardship after another, it is good to remember that this came from my love of Yeshua. So this is helpful for me, right? In my physical body in this lifetime, as it would be for anyone. It's helpful to know the bigger picture, right? It's like, okay, I'm going through this, but I asked for this because I wanted to be like him. So it's good to remember that this came from my love of Yeshua. This came from me wanting to be more like him. It gives me the tiniest glance into our friendship, even though I'm not allowed to see it. Like, I know there's a friendship there with me and Yeshua, but I only know my interactions with him in this lifetime, right? I can't remember anything from the past, but I know it exists. Just like how I know I have relationships with all of my guides that I can't remember, and the same is true for you. Amun-Ra walks with me, and I see his outfit change to something silver worn on a starship. He is tall and lanky. He holds my hand gently. He feels reliable, the way Metatron does, validating that he contains some of Metatron's energy. When I look at him in this lifetime, and this is so, when I'm looking at like that's him in that silver outfit, whatever that is, whatever lifetime this belongs to, because when your guides change form, they're showing you something you've seen before. You just don't remember it. So whoever he was in that lifetime, he felt like my best friend, whatever, whatever lifetime that was. And I recognize the energy as Archangel Raphael. So Archangel Raphael and Archangel Michael, certain versions of them are soulmates for me. And so it's interesting. So Amun-Ra is basically he's answering that question I said at the beginning, right? In the beginning of this conversation, I was like, I know I like him. I know he's trustworthy. I know one day he's going to show me why I like him even when he tries to be grouchy. And now he's showing me. He's like, you like me because I have Metatron in me. I have Yeshua in me. I have Raphael in me. I have Michael in me. Those are my favorite souls all in one. I asked for more details on the lifetime with him in the silver outfit because I can feel how strongly I love him. And so this is an incarnation of Amun-Ra on the planet Hamal, which is the black rocks we were walking around on. So in that lifetime, he joined a star fleet. I can remember what it felt like to say goodbye to him. So he joined a star fleet. I said goodbye, never saw him again, basically. So we were like very close, like best friends in this lifetime, but we had romantic feelings, but we never admitted to them. So he left without telling me how he felt, and he left without me telling him how I felt, and he never comes back. And then so I was kind of upset. I was like, Amun-Ra, why are you showing me this? Even though I asked him to. Because I told him, like, man, you're adding, because I have all these lifetimes where I'm interacting with this energy that should be like the perfect partner, but something always happens and it doesn't work out, right? And so I told him, I was like, you're adding to my sad love story collection. And Amun-Ra said, without me there, so without him there in that lifetime, for me to rely on, I'm going to say it how he said it, without me there to rely on, you could learn to lead yourself. With me never returning, you could learn patience and perseverance. So now, that's the end of this. That's the end of what I channeled. So Amun-Ra is showing me, yeah, we planned this lifetime. We planned this lifetime to have us want to be together, and then I leave because if he had stayed, I would have like fallen into this pattern of like relying on him. And he's like, no, that's not you. That's not what you're working on. You want to be like Yeshua. You need to work on leadership, patience, perseverance. So I had to get out of the picture in order to push you towards those things. So he gave me a whole lot of information during this channeled experience, which I love. So Amun-Ra. So if you guys are ever interested in interacting with Amun-Ra, he's got wonderful energies in him. He's also very sassy. He might be super serious with you, but don't fall for it. He's love underneath. He just likes to play tough. It's kind of like Odin, actually, now that I think about it, because Odin is the only other guide I have that's very serious. But Odin's quiet, and Odin is serious, but it's almost like Odin doesn't look like he's in a bad mood. Amun-Ra actually looks like he might be in a bad mood, which is weird, but yeah, Odin doesn't do that. Okay, so this is the end of my message. I really just wanted to show you guys, like, hey, if you are channeling If you are getting clairvoyant information, keep persisting, because in the beginning, you might be looking down at Black Rock and you might be looking over at Amun-Ra, and Amun-Ra's like staring at the sky, and you're like, what the heck am I doing here? How does this all tie together? And if you just keep going with it, your guides have their own unique way of pulling in all this information for you. So Amun-Ra had his own unique way of showing me that he's been with me throughout this incarnation, that he planted that trilobite, that he's encouraging me to be more like Yeshua because that's what I wanted. He showed me a past lifetime where he's supporting me still, being like Yeshua. He showed me the actual planet from that lifetime and what he looked like. And then he managed to show me, hey, I've got Michael in me. I've got Raphael in me. I've got Metatron. I've got Yeshua. So he showed me all these things, but he just did it in his own way, and it took time to get to all of it. So, oh my gosh. He just said, persist and be patient. The two of the three things I'm working on, right? Persist and be patient with your spiritual gifts in order to. That's why you did it that way. It was so hard to get that message, and it normally isn't, but he did it on purpose because those are things I'm working on. But perhaps you're working on them too. So persist and be patient in order to develop your gifts and to get to like the little gold nuggets within whatever information you're trying to channel or trying to see. Either way. Okay. This is everything that I have for you guys. I think the next message after this is going to be the Lightworker Gateway. I know absolutely nothing about that right now, so I have to go find out. But more to come. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.